Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another show of Channeling Ascensions. My co-host, Christina Hill, and her wonderful Athella, her beautiful divine spirit that chooses to come and speak at any time. We never know when, but she'll let us know when she wants her presence known. And a repeat guest with me, and delighted to have him on here with us today, Robert O. Williams, former beach boy, but heart extraordinaire explorer now with his heart book, heart app, and also of the wonderful water program he has, 108. We'll touch on all of that, but I have done, I think, is it 3 or 4 shows with you now, Robert? So we talk about all of that there, and please go back and listen to some of those shows, because you will be blown away by what he's achieved over the last 17, 18 years, where it takes our planet. It was Earth Day yesterday, so we have this wonderful law of ecocide going out, which gives us the right to fight for our planet, and he is certainly doing his bit with not only the consciousness of the planet with our heart, but also with this beautiful water. And I really would love you to go back and listen to those shows and hear what he has there for you. But today it is about forgiveness. Big word. A lot of people, I don't want to forgive. They hurt me. It's all their fault. Well, folks, before you go looking forgiveness elsewhere, or even having to give forgiveness elsewhere, it starts with self. There's always something that we've done, something that we've said, something that we felt that we feel guilty about, or just carry a heavy heart. That self-forgiveness is something that we need to do in order to actually have the courage, the strength, and the knowledge of how to forgive someone else. It doesn't mean you condone an act, but it does mean that you let the pain and those grasps of that pain, you release it from you. So forgiveness is something that we need to do in our own lives, for this planet. And it's the deep breath that we all need to take. Right, Christina?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And thank you both, Sarah and Robert, for coming here. Full energy, open heart space. And we're diving into something as significant as forgiveness. I think it does begin with the breath. We can begin with a breath to breathe in the pain, right? To be present in the heart center, because it really comes there. I mean, at least for me, I find when we're talking about forgiveness of self, I can feel that generating those, percolating that energy in that space. And then we breathe into that space. And that can be the start of our forgiveness. So right there with the breath coming in. And that right there, that intention in the breath, and we feel it in the body. What a tremendous vehicle we have and we can utilize for our forgiveness work.
And we need to step into heart, don't we, Robert? We can't forgive from an angry mind. We have to step into heart.
Exactly. I'm so glad we started with what we're saying is that we take a pause. We stop our activities. We can do this consciously. We just take a pause, and we can breathe, and we'll feel. We all carry wounds. We all have wounds. We all carry pain. And you're absolutely right, both of you. I love this way we're starting, because if we are not able to first take a breath and identify our own wound, our own pain, and the feeling of that, then we can't really truthfully forgive others. And that wound usually is accompanied with different emotions. I'm angry at this person or that person for these horrible things that have happened. And we've all had a taste of suffering in different ways. That's just the time we're in. So to stop and take a breath, use our awareness with wisdom, use our awareness to look at that emotion, or to embrace the emotion that we're experiencing, accompanying the pain, accompanying those horrible memories or those bad memories.
Yes.
And that's where love is, through the heart, able to become bigger than anything that's ever happened to us, anything actually, because it is based in the infinite. It's based in the supreme, they call it the Atma Mada. It's the unconditional love of our essence. It's not something we have to, it's not something we have to learn to receive or earn. It's not something that we achieve. It's something that is. And the isness is a product of our awareness, self-awareness. And first, before we forgive, as you mentioned, it is to, what is it there that's behind our breath? What is the essence of our emotional body, our minds? What's going on there? And usually we'll feel that memory, or we'll remember that something, or we'll feel the emotion of that. That is where we can use the breath and open our hearts and embrace that condition, because love really does heal everything. As we accept, unconditional love is acceptance, right? So first we accept. I'm feeling very angry. I feel terrible, or whatever the emotion is. That's ours. We have it in our emotional bodies and our subtle energies. So regardless of that person that did the horrible thing to us, it is now in us. It's us. And we begin to project that in different ways, usually unconsciously or subconsciously in our patterns and habits. We all know this. So we identify that part of our body, or part of our emotional body or subtle body, that is calling out for love, calling out for unconditional love. In ourselves, it's the essence of our disconnect. And so that disconnect is usually accompanied with some emotion. And so the emotion begins to offer a doorway into our pain, into our own inner worlds, where we can allow the heart, which is always there present, to embrace, to hold like a mother would her child, or a parent would her child. There's no agenda there. There's just the infant and the mother, and there's love, and nature does most of it from that point on. That's how I would approach forgiveness, and I think it's right aligned with what we both were sharing before being on the air here, and it's so beautiful.
Can we just waft in this? I think we should. Don't you think, Sarah? Should we just waft in? We don't even have to say anything. It's just... Maybe just inviting whatever forgiveness work is arising for our listeners in this moment.
The allowing.
Yeah. Here's the space we can share this energy. Let the energy gain momentum here, and just, if it's the self that's needing forgiveness, or if it's someone else, but that you can bring that up in this safety space that we've created here, this bubble of love. Like Robert says, it's all coming back to love.
Trusting the feeling of it. You know, don't do the thinking of it, the feeling of it, allowing that love just to wrap itself around you. You know, it is your nurturer, it is your healer, your calmer, as it strokes you and brings you back into a beautiful place of sanctuary. A wave of love just totally and utterly embracing your soul and your heart, setting you free, letting everything else go as it melts from you, just falls away from you, as that liquid of love just penetrates every single soul, every cell of you. There is no thinking, there is just the feeling of love in all its light and all its truth and all its purity, just wrapping itself from the inside out and around you.
If there is assistance needed to carry onward with this exercise, you can put yourself in the fetus position. Fetal positioning so that you can amplify the love and forgiveness of all sentient beings. Forgive all those associated with you. Total, radical forgiveness. Do this just before you drop into sleep. Turn into the fetal position. Hear your heartbeat. Like the mother wrapping round the child, there are angelic beings, beings of light, wrapped round you, who are helping you to forgive. Forgiveness is the gift to oneself. You are free. You are free beings. As you forgive, the body heals. The body heals itself. Any discord in the body is an indicator there is a teaching that is coming forward, and most of it requiring forgiveness. I love you.
That was Athella, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Athella.
She clearly was very passionate about this topic because she normally comes in later. So clearly wanted to have something to say about this. And you know, that fetal position actually is something that we do when we're feeling, I don't know, I won't say insecure, but there is something about that position, isn't it? You know, that you get into that, and I think it's wrapping yourself up within yourself, and then allowing, you know, that stroke of a mother, you know, of that love. I kept seeing liquid gold throughout this, just pouring over us, you know, and wrapping itself around us and through us of just pure, beautiful healing love. What did you get out of this, Robert?
I also saw the gold. Interesting. On the higher or more complete, not higher, but more complete, more whole dimensions of our reality, there are frequencies of energy, and each frequency has a color associated with it. We've heard the term the golden rule, and the golden aura, and the reason that those terms, I believe, which have been around a long time, is because the actual color associated with complete unconditional love is gold. The shimmering, it's not exactly like the gold we see with our rings and
right,
things.
It's different.
Yeah.
But it's the closest we can come. I saw that gold just pour as Athena was blessing us, and our essence is that love, and so we can access it at any time, and it is a healing. Which what she said there, the gold love is the golden frequency, is a frequency of proper association with our wholeness, which is optimal living, the health of each of our cells, the healing of our emotional bodies, our emotional impressions from the past. It's golden light. It's a golden bath. So I'm glad you brought that up, Sarah. I said the same thing.
I'm quite happy to swim in that and just you know, bring it on. You know, it's like the heavens, and it's not like it's raining coming down in drops. It's just like it's just being poured and liquid around you, in and around you. And but I think this is something that is very important, is that people often ask, but how, or what am I seeing? What am I meant to understand? Because they think that it's a mind thing, and really it isn't, is it? It's a heart and soul thing. Forgiveness has to come from the heart. It has to be a connection to the soul so that the mind can let it go and forgive. If we try and do it from thought, our thoughts will always interrupt and go, yes, but I think when we step into the heart and the soul, the spirit then, you know, becomes that beautiful liquid gold, and then that then appeases the mind of, yes, I can let it go.
Absolutely. Beautifully said.
Beautifully said. Both of you carry this, and it's an incredible, awesome ability to give language to these concepts, which, we're talking in fifth dimensional terms here. So it makes it especially interesting when we find language that we put to it. I love the bath that we mentioned here is almost, I could see or feel like a cradling of the back of the head,
Mm-hmm.
laying back into that. So just even these visualizations, how powerful they can be in our forgiveness work, and going there in the body. And as Sarah, you mentioned that we go in the body, we go inside and begin there, because our ego is the shadow ego will no doubt always have some kind of reason why we can't let it go. And it's gonna, and those chains, because that's harsh, and then it'll just repeat the cycle. So if anyone, my experience of forgiveness is like that 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It doesn't necessarily when the ego is with that movement, then yes, it's going to look like that. But when we start with the body, we go in really inside, and then we follow those cues, and we're just willing. Doesn't have to be instant forgiveness, but just the willingness to feel that through the body. Then I think that we can make a lot more. It can expand on its own without our reliance on ego to take us there, because we all know that's not the way. Certainly the harder way, I think.
Yeah. Well, the anger's always in the head. Anger cannot reside in the heart. It can attack the heart, if you're broken heart, or, if you're bruised, but love is what the heart is about, and anger doesn't belong there. So however much it tries to bombard the heart is strong enough because it is love. So, the anger is in the emotional head. And if you go into heart and come from heart, it will soothe the anger. It will nurture and love the anger. I've got another vision here of, of the mother cradling the baby in that fetal position, and just wrapping it in that beautiful gold. But then, of course, Robert is a musician. You yourself are a singer, Christina. I can't describe it because I'm not a musician, but I'm hearing a beautiful soothing tone, almost like soft bells. Ringing, that they're not even ringing, it's a chime, just a chime of bells that is very, very soothing, because frequency of sound is such a beautiful way of bringing us down from anger and stepping into that forgiveness. I'm going to talk to the musician Robert here.
You're yes. If we are allowing the anger, and we've identified our own pain, we've identified and are open to this anger that is placing itself within our reality, and we continue to allow that anger with love in a safe environment. We might have to cry, we might feel like crying, we might feel like screaming. The body can help release the energy. But one of the things that is so beautiful is that once the anger is completely accepted from the heart, then the energy that was used to create that separation, that contraction of like a knot in a string, that energy, it takes a lot of energy to continue to be angry. We all have that anger, or most of us have that anger in our subconscious somewhere. Once we can tap into that energy then is transformed into love and gives us tremendous power for healing, for good. It's for the good, with a capital G. It's a beautiful process because the divine is everywhere. There's not a place where unconditional love is absent. It just has that ability to activate itself in these dark places. And once active, the darkness then becomes a tremendous power for loving and for healing and for transformation.
Just hit on some music there, though, on the tones of it, because, as we've seen the color, how wonderful it can be. We can image, that fetal loving position of being held in the arms, of love. But the sounds, I mean, for me at the present moment, as I said, it's soft chimes of a bell. But, what would be for you guys of, I mean, because you're a singer, so I'm sure it's song that comes from you, Christina, but you're a saxophonist, Robert. You know, what would be the music that for you would be so soothing to your heart and soul, that would, you know, set you on the right frequency of forgiveness?
I can speak to that for one, and then Robert, I'd love to hear, or just, you know, through transference, we can share psychically these tones. I hear in this present moment the dolphin channelings, the dolphin sounds with the clicks and the quality of the, you know, and the, you know, and these sounds are, I mean, they're cosmically drenched
Sonic.
in light. Yeah, and they're sonic, exactly. It's really hard to put words to this again. But there's something when we hear them that, for me, I hear these tones, it really ignites, it moves through the body, and it ignites like a blue energy for me. I see water. I then feel like I'm part of their sounds, and those sounds are so healing for me, particularly as it relates to the forgiveness work. When we observe dolphins and we see them in their natural habitat, what they do, how they engage, they play, they make these sounds, and they really, they don't hold, of course, they don't hold these things in the body the way that humans do, but the anger points that you're mentioning, just in those few moments, I started to hear the sounds of dolphin, the tonality of dolphin sounds. So I recommend, a lot of times Athella talks about our dolphin teachers and how beneficial it can be to hear their voice, to hear their sounds. So a lot of times I'll just go on YouTube, I'll just download these sounds, hear them, you know, and hear them throughout the day. So particularly if you're in that, as Robert said, contracted state, if you're really locked in, that these can really break away these parts, or open up, so that you have a new dialogue with the self. You can feel in that safe sanctuary, nurtured through these beautiful creatures. But Robert, please share with me how do you hear the sounds, tonality, or is there a musical quality to this conversation for you?
Yeah, there's a musical quality to life itself. There's a musical quality to life. And I love
some good vibrations. Got to get.
Oh yes.
But you know, since you brought up the dolphins, I've had the great fortune of swimming with the dolphins in Kealakekua Bay and Kona, Hawaii. They're wild dolphins. They're swimmers. And one of the things that I really experienced at a very, very fundamental and deeply loving level is that the dolphins are here with a higher conscious message or answers to some of the deep problems that the earth is faced with. And I'm including very real problems like water pollution and air pollution and things like that. Now, what do I mean by that? The dolphins, we are like conduits for information that is for the blossoming heart that is happening on the planet as Mother Earth, and through and as each of ourselves, each human being and other beings as well. When I was there swimming with the dolphins, of course, those clicking sounds that are so delightful and just you know, blasting with love and playful and innocence. And then when I kept swimming, literally one morning, I just kept following them way out. Ooh. And my eyes were closed and I just kept hearing their instructions. And one of the things, and this was in the mid-90s, that they emphasized was that they are here to help us, and they are here with hope and even with practical solutions for these problems. And somewhere at some place, and it might not be me or you, but somebody's going to wake up and they'll have this idea of maybe a new enzyme or a new bacteria that can help with water pollution. These are conduits. The dolphins are conduits for epiphanies, for solutions to global issues. And although some people might think that's metaphysical, we can remind ourselves that consciousness in and of itself is metaphysical.
Yeah.
Consciousness doesn't have
Very true.
the scientific boundary to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability for information to transfer from one state of consciousness to another, from one being to another, is our own experience. It's an empirical truth. So back to the dolphins, if anyone has the great fortune of actually going to some place where there's wild dolphins, if you have that ability, offer them love, offer them conscious love. Really say, we are here in your land. This is your land. These are your oceans, and we are so grateful to share this habitat with you. And they'll respond. And then the other thing that I wanted to share is that we are water. We are water. Our bodies are water. This is the water planet. And so it would make sense that there are beings that are living in the water. We all know that dolphins cannot breathe underwater. They are living in the water. They found a way to have amazing lives in water, and yet they breathe the air that we breathe.
Yeah.
Water is now going through a transformation as well, because we talked about transferring information. Our essences, with our hearts open, can receive healing and epiphanies and information through the water of our bodies. And so if we are drinking good water, we all know that if we get dehydrated, we can't think that clearly. If we really don't have water, then we're struggling for our lives. If we, on the other hand, are able to drink lively water, or water that is been revitalized, or natural spring water, something like that, we're actually able to hear our souls speak. We're able to hear our higher selves, our more whole avenues of perception into our own nervous systems, and come up with inspirations for all kinds of things, not only solutions to problems, but as important as the solutions to these global issues, as important as that, and this is coming to me very strongly, is as important is to dance and to sing and to celebrate our bodies, celebrate this environment where we can dance and sing and enjoy life. Because that, even if you're alone in the shower or out somewhere, that radiates, that sends out a signal, that sends out love, and it really is able to help this blossoming that is currently happening from moment to moment, and this awakening that's in process. So don't for a second think that just because you're singing by yourself, it's just yourself. This is something that is a collective celebration that we can sing, enjoy and dance in joy, and it actually adds to those scientists that are going to think of the right bacteria to clean the oil in the oceans and all these other issues. It's going to be a celebratory, higher conscious transformation. It's not going to be an effort-driven, a desperate plea or a fear-based struggle to try to solve problems. Just the opposite. That's the nature of this time, and it's so beautiful that we're talking about forgiveness, because forgiveness will be the product of those dances and songs. We'll after a good experience of our own rhythms and songs and sounds, and whether we play an instrument or not, after we have a good experience of that, we'll see that forgiveness is effortless, more effortless. It's part of our whole awakening, part of our own healing.
Yes.
I'm going to finish off on one thing before I take us into another, but as I said, the bells, that many years ago, the bells of China came here to Vancouver, BC, and they found when they had dug them up that there were tones in there that they never knew existed. And the reason I think I'm hearing the bells is that they could just hit one note, and the resonance and the ripple effect of how it expanded out was just so enveloping, and this is why for me right now it is the bell chimes, and it is how it just, as it as it reaches out into that consciousness and expands into it, it sets people onto that same tone, that same frequency. And it is one of such beautiful love resonance. And I think that's what we need to do, isn't it? Is find what tone, what musical image, what's something that speaks to you, that elevates you into that resonance of love, that expands out. We don't want to bing, and it's a high pitch. We want something that will, like the breath, expand out our consciousness, because then in that openness, as this show is called Channeling Ascensions, we start then channeling those possibilities, those innovations, those answers. We cannot in the restricted position, but when we open up and into those channels and our chakras are in alignment and we've opened up into that frequency, all the things that we see today and go, where did they get that from? It's because they allowed, like yourself with the journey you've taken, Robert, with the 108 water, with the heart app, with the heart book. You went on a journey of exploration, but in breath and expansion, you allowed that channeling to come down to direct you to your purpose and what you were meant to understand, as Christina has with Athella. The journey she had before, where she is now, is because she stepped into that channeling, that allowing, and tapped into that beautiful frequency that allowed her open up like a flower, receive, and then bring it down to the rest of the people. So it's about this, isn't it? It's about expanding out, you know. That's what love is.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And Robert and Sarah, I think what we're all pointing at too, as we're energy beings, as we are. So if we even, consciousness becomes aware of consciousness.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Yeah. It's quite simple, really, isn't it? Is as you awaken and you become more aware, you're aware of, more consciousness. And but then it's, how do we get there? And you can't get to that consciousness and into that message that the dolphins want us to know, or the messages that, the universe wants us to know, if we're wrapped up in this unforgivable presence, because unforgivable presence is closing you down. It's not opening you up. And everything happens for a reason. Even if somebody's done you wrong or has hurt you, we do not condone the act. But if we do not forgive, and I've done many shows on this of people who have lost 4 of their family members and had to forgive, because if they didn't, it would eat them up. And they spoke God's word, and they said, God, I can't talk about forgiveness and not practice it and not do it. That doesn't mean that I'm letting go of the pain. It doesn't mean I'm dishonoring anybody that's been wrongfully hurt. It doesn't mean that I'm condoning the action. It just means I'm letting it go.
Beautiful.
Yes. We're taking it out of ourselves, the self, and which doesn't have anything vested. I mean, the true self, not the ego, but the true self doesn't have anything vested in the qualms and quibbles of that we hold in our bodies. It's like doesn't have anything to do with that. So it's really, we're talking again about when these prongs of pain come up, that's ego, separation, shadow, whatever you want to call that is mainly in the head, and that gets trapped up in the body. And as you said, Sarah, so perfectly, it only hurts ourselves. We keep it. Robert, you mentioned that earlier. We keep the material, the content, and it gets like fingerprinted on us until we're willing to go there. And everyone has their story, right? Where we have this really giant, I think a lot of us do. We have the one or two big, okay, I've got to forgive this. And it seems just so huge because of the story. It's really, I promise you though, everyone listening in, I mean, we can all tell our story, but it is a story. It is just a story. It's not the self. It's not who we are that is guaranteed by source and universe. It's like the story is not, we don't have to identify, our identity doesn't have to be laying in that, saturating in that. And I believe our show today will be such wafting for people. Even now as I sit here, I know we all feel this, but if you brought something up to the table to release in forgiveness, in your forgiveness work, you'll feel an expansion coming right now through this show, just hearing it. So listen to it again and again, and keep this up as we expand. And as the dolphins show us, then it's effortless. These are just, we're ascending beings. So it will become an effortless process as we practice through this energy, this release. But that doesn't, of course, it doesn't condone what others are doing. I mean, there's a very big difference between saying that this is acceptable behavior, right? Or I've heard people call it apathy, or I'm just going to bury my head in the sand, or I just accept, I'm going to let someone walk all over me. That's very different. Than loving the self enough to be willing to explore this forgiveness work, and then to release. Yeah, those are two very different things. I like that you pointed that out, Sarah. That's important to note. Yes.
Robert?
It's actually quite a remarkable practice as we do our daily forgiveness work, or our remembering who we are through our hearts, and have that experience of love or presence. And then, for instance, I have a daughter who's 12 years old, so I'm very protective, and I've got my radar out all the time to protect her. And she goes to school, and at one point she was being bullied, and there was. It was just wrong action. And I went to the school, and, so my first reaction was just to protect her. And so I wasn't angry, because I had been around this topic enough to know that if I began to direct anger at whoever was the bully, that it would just perpetuate the wound. But it didn't mean that I allowed bullying, allowed, rocks being thrown. But I approached that whole situation with my heart very open, but also very, very clear that there's a boundary that has to be recognized with our own self-healing. So like I mentioned before, sometimes we do need to scream and yell if we're in a place where nobody else can get hurt because of our screaming and yelling. Then
it's releasing.
We release, right? So here was a child, also 12 years old, that, who knows why he's angry? Who knows why he wanted to act out? That's another call for love. It doesn't mean that I allow rocks to be thrown. But when I approached this boy, I was actually able to hug him and tell him that he is loved, that I forgive him, but he should not throw rocks. He should not bully.
Yeah.
And I love you, and you are forgiven. And he looked at me and started crying. It was a very
I'm gonna cry. That's incredible.
That's all of us have that ability. It takes practice, and I said practice, and that because I'm speaking for myself. I have all kinds of stories. I can remember, and I can feel how my body contracts. One of the things I want to add is that this is part of in a holistic sense, not that suffering is required or was part of the plan, but in a holistic sense, all things are leading back towards this amazing earth we live on, with our amazing bodies, with the miraculous potential we have to enjoy life, to celebrate with each other. Pure consciousness, even in and of itself, is alone. It is lonely. Pure consciousness. It takes ourselves, our individual consciousness, for that pure consciousness to become conscious.
To give it a note. To give it its note.
To give it a note. In contrast, there is a dualism there. There is a rhythm. There's a time element that is given to us to enjoy, to celebrate, to explore boundaries, to explore our past, in a sense that we are allowing this nothingness, this backdrop of infinity, to have finite experiences. And this is a precious, precious gift. The potential of this planet is unfathomable to most of our imaginations, but it is there, and we can sense it from time to time. This very program that we're having is a symptom of where we're all at. We're all looking to come together with each other and love each other and allow ourselves to forgive ourselves and each other, and then to sing and dance and enjoy the moment. And then if we are so inspired, come up with scientific solutions or other ways to solve these problems. Most importantly, this is a planet of huge, huge possibility and potential. And our incarnation is a really precious gift. And so the masters among us, the human masters and the dolphin masters and the other ones that are here, are very excited for these moments that we live, because we're approaching the dawn, we're approaching the new day. And forgiveness and love, rhythm, music, singing, dancing, all of these things are the expressions of this inherent
fluidity.
Freedom and fluidity. Yes.
Makes you want to move and sway and start to
but
swirl.
it's letting the spirit move. That's the point, is that, because we're in this human vessel, and this vessel is limited into exactly what it can do. And, we can push it, and we've pushed it beyond boundaries, and we make discoveries of what it can do. But without its conscious spirit, without its soul wisdom, without its heart connection, we are the ones that limit it to expand beyond the vessel. And I think when we actually understand this vessel is purely that, when we allow ourselves to go beyond those possibilities, and I'm a seer, I go and dance in other dimensions and other universes, and I see everything that is possible. And I believe that we as human beings can make it possible. Will we have some little limitations with our bodies? Yes. But that is, we've got to understand there's the other parallel life, which is our dimensional selves. And we need to get out and dance in that dimensional self, into that wonderment of the universe. Anybody that's traveled up into the universe, that's gone up in there and felt it, you understand it is limitless. There are no boundaries. There are no restrictions. The only code is that of loving creation, that creative love. It is all about that truth. It doesn't know hate. It doesn't know right and wrong. It just works beautifully on this loving vibration of constant creation. And as human beings, we are incredible at creating and discovering and listening to new ways of doing things. And I interview them, right? People on the Eco Solutions, which I had you on, Robert, just with what you're doing with the 108 water, or what you're doing with the app for the phone, what you're doing with the heart book. The creativity and the wonderment of where we can go and who we are is within us, as long as we reach out to the universe and allow it to show us how.
Yes.
Then forgiveness is not needed, because we're actually in consciousness.
Wow. Again, I'm wowed, because we have these, isn't it fun to truncate these concepts into little statements, the little nuggets of light? Because you just did that. And we've done that throughout the show. What you said about, then it's not needed so much as it's just a byproduct of us coming back to our consciousness, our oneness, and our awareness.
Yeah, the need to forgive is not there because you understand. All it is then a need to love, as you said, Robert. It's to let them know that the action is wrong, but you understand why the action was there. And your response wasn't to reprimand, but was to love. Right? So if we actually show the love, that in itself is the forgiveness. But it also stops their need to be another need to have to forgive again. because that child now knows love is the answer.
Yeah.
It's really simple, isn't it? It's kind of corny, but love is the answer. When we step into heart and into love, we open up so much more to what is and what can be, you know.
Yes.
Unlimited.
Absolutely.
So we've forgiven. And I think actually very often it's easier to forgive someone else before we forgive ourselves, because the trend is this: well, I forgive you, you do not know what you did, or you do not know what you do. But then I allowed you to do it to me. So what's wrong with me that I allowed it? And then you've got to go for all that forgiveness. So which does come first? The self-forgiveness, the forgiveness of someone else, or is it something that we need to do at the same time and just realize, let's just love. Let's just love. We can be angry, we can be mad at the moment, spend the emotion, and then but come back to love. And then we don't get caught up in this having to forgive and this turmoil of pain, because to be in an unforgivable state is to be in a state of pain.
Pain body comes up. Pain body comes up. That'll bring you to your knees. I think that we talked about this on the last show, Sarah. Talk about coming to your knees.
Yeah.
You know, and then leaving us begging for which is the way out. You know, how do I get out of the, you know, wanting to get out of that grip. Whereas there is a higher way, and we are the way. So the language, again, it just seems so poetic, right? But it's, or corny, we could call it, but it's so true. It's just the return to self, the return to love, particularly when the pain body rears its ugly head in the body and you're feeling it. And it can be particularly triggering when we're in these moments, in these triggered moments. So perhaps creating the boundary while you're doing your forgiveness work, having the appropriate boundaries, so that, and finding that, like Robert was saying, appropriate space. I know there are certain seminars you can go to, you can grab baseball bat, you know, and pillows, and there's all this, you know, so that we can express. Yeah, so that you're not, it's not, the pain body can be released. You know, it sounds almost like exercising demons a bit.
In a sense it is,
in a sense it is. It's like
because if you know, forgiveness and blame are in the same category. You know, if you're blaming someone, or you're just finding a reason not to forgive them. So, you know, and then who are we to blame? Are we the judge and jury? You know, what we're looking at is that it's a horrible spiral. A horrible spiral. But, you know, if you spend the emotion and go, you know, I'm angry at this moment, spend the emotion, get it out of you. Now step into that place of love. Is that harder to do? The first time, maybe. But then you realize how awesome it is, how impactful it is. The second time will be a lot easier. But everything we do for the first time is a lot harder because it's new to us. But boy, the reaction that you get, it is then becomes the drug of choice. I'm going to love everybody.
You got that right. Yes. Yeah. Whew.
So, Robert, do you see that? I mean, does that child give your daughter any problems now? Have you seen a difference in that child? Have you been able to follow up?
Absolutely, there's a big difference. And I forgot to tell you, the first thing I did was to actually go to my daughter first. I'm the father. And make sure that she felt that she was heard for being hurt. She was hurt, and in a sense, in that small little space of time, she was the victim of, you know, somebody else's pain. So I didn't go right to the boy. So in a sense, this is an analogy for all of our internal demons, you could say, or our internal bullies who are, and then the parts of ourselves who feel victims. So we feel both. If we're able to open wide enough, we'll see our shadow sides, and we'll see those parts that, like the 12-year-old, who in its essence, he doesn't want to hurt anybody, because that's not natural living. So what is unnatural is there's been pain and suffering that has not been loved. There's
Yeah.
been human suffering that hasn't been acknowledged and held to the point where that energy can be constructively expressed.
Yes.
And maybe the next time he's playing basketball or he's whatever, if he gets that feeling again, he'll know that, okay, the boundary's been set. I remember that experience, you know,
Yes.
in March with Mr. Williams, but that energy's there. So then what do? It's also where dancing and singing and anything physical can help us move through pain and move through regret and anger and all the rest of it. One of the ultimate things for people who are in pain, and I say this with deep, deep compassion and empathy, because I was there, where you can't figure out why on earth there's so much pain. And you see it in others, but then you see it in yourself, and you can't, there's just no way out. And in those moments, I can only say, by having gone through that, is if you can find a place to surrender the effort to try to get out of the pain. I say this with deep compassion and empathy, because if we can get out of pain by doing something, then yes, we need to do that. We need to do the best we can. Pain is not our natural condition. But if there is nothing else we can do and we find ourselves just overwhelmed, you can even pull your attention to your heart area and allow the effort to resist allow the resistance to be itself without anything from our end. It'll start to spin around. Let me see if I'm articulating this correctly. So if we allow our resistance, if we allow that which is painful through unconditional love, it actually opens a channel for a transformational potential at first, and a transformational inevitable event. It is the surrendering of resistance, surrendering of the battle, surrendering of the anger, surrendering of the despair into this mystery, into the holy mystery of the moment. Because ultimately we can't understand it with our minds, and our minds try so hard. And our minds can serve us to a great degree. We remember, I need to take vitamin C, I need to exercise, whatever. Those are mental things that are very valuable, but some of us might find that dark night of the soul. And as we allow ourselves to be taken by that experience, it will set up a transformational dynamic that later on, or maybe even immediately, healing will occur, or epiphanies, or transformation that we really can't talk about, because it is only then glowing in our auras afterwards. It is glowing in our hearts, and as we live on the rest of our lives. I just wanted to share that, because I know viewers that are probably wondering how are they going to get out of their pain? How are they going to end the suffering?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Christina,
we're all in this together. We're all in this together. Yes.
The anguish, I think it's, the cosmic 2x4 that comes along with where you just feel you can't take any more. You're at the end. And it's like something has to break. And is it me, or is it the situation? And I know, Christina, you certainly found yourself in that, where literally it was your voice, Athella's voice, needing to come out in you. That was your transformation. That was your redirect. But I think it's almost a human condition sometimes for us to get to that point in such anguishing pain that is so crippling that you feel that there is no way you're going to release yourself from this log. And it's only when let go, take the breath, relinquish, resistance is futile, and allow, surrender to allowing, then it's suddenly, as you said, that epiphany, that moment that something happens. And you don't need to articulate it, you just need to sense it, to feel it. And you were there, Christina.
Yes. And I don't know if anyone can see, I'm kind of touching the body here, because if we're in postures, sometimes we have different postures that we'll assume just in the moment. But if you have to grab on to a part of the body as you do this process, then do, if whatever needs to happen in those moments, I think we're talking about an alchemy. It's like walk
Yeah.
through the fire. There is no way. I mean, really, it's true. We're going through.
Yeah.
And so then I would just encourage, Robert, beautiful. I can't even say, words don't even say this energy though, this energy field that we've opened up here and what you've shared, and Sarah, you as well. I would just add to that and just say that don't exit the body at this point. That critical point is just important. See if you can wait, if you can lean in and then take the breath. At least come back to the breath, because that's very simple. Sometimes if we step out of the now, because of the content, the material we're working with is so painful. Like we were talking about the anguish and everything. You're up to your eyeballs in it. And it just seems as though exiting the body seems to be the right choice. But it's really coming back to the breath. And then you can keep it really simple. It can just be now time. I mean, there is only one time anyway. Right. So it's now, coming back to the now and stay in the now through this journey. And then as Robert was pointing out, it's walking through the fire. There can be instant transformation, instant alchemy if we're willing to absolutely surrender.
It's the birth.
Anybody
who's actually, everybody that has actually physically given birth, the actual excruciating pain as you're going through that labor at that moment when that baby is coming out, it is extremely painful. And you kind of think, I can't do this anymore. And it's, yes, you can. One more breath, one more breath.
It's like one breath at a time.
And then, yes. And then out comes that baby. And that cry and that miracle that there is in front of you. What pain? I don't remember the pain. All I can see is the joy. So at times like that, we've got to understand that excruciating pain is our labor and giving birth to our new souls, our new selves. And we can look at ourselves in wonderment at our new possibilities, our new birth, our new consciousness there, and embrace and nurture that new child that we've birthed within ourselves, and bring it up in the way that we want to, with that love and nurture, and do it a different way this time, through the consciousness, through the love.
Beautiful.
Do you remember giving birth, Robert? I mean, it's different for a guy. I mean, we could put the analogy with the, actually physically birthing a child, and women will get it. But for a guy, it's, what is that? That same kind of parallel sensation for a guy, where that extreme pain and then into the birthing of a new self.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly different. I do remember the birth of my own reconditioning, or my dying, and with my heart stopped, and my breath stopped, and then coming back. And so that is the best I can compare, because I haven't had it. But I was there with my daughter being born. There is a analogy there that I think is important, and also I want to add that where we're going, where humanity is headed, where the earth is headed, is out of the age of suffering, out of the age of contracted fear. Yes. And so we are not there yet. There's suffering everywhere. There's a lot of cruelty happening. We want to keep in the secret crevices of our heart that place that we can feel really heaven on earth in our bodies, in our families, in our communities, as a reality that is without suffering. It is actually part of the destiny of humans and planet Earth, and we are participating with that transition from the caterpillar to the butterfly, and there's all these different ways that have shown us that complete change can happen within the same stream of life force. So in this life force, the destiny of being a human, along with the animals and along with the other sentient beings and all the elements of the periodic chart, we're all going through this together, and this blossoming is painful now because we're in this part of the transition, and the birth will happen, and the you could say the outcome is something that we've always secretly believed in, which is a life without suffering and pain. It's there. So we are participants in this. We're all midwives to this birthing process. We're all in this together, literally.
We're all creation too, you know. The universe only knows, you know, when something dies, something is recreated, and when we're all creators. And, you know, I think what we're seeing with the social movement right now is where people are standing up, you know, you're not with pitchforks or in arms, you know, fighting against the injustices. They're saying we're just not going to take this anymore. We want humanity to stand with each other. You know, no matter what race, color, religion, or anything else, the planet and everything else, is that we're just not going to take the violence against one another, the hate against one another, the anger against one another anymore, that we seek harmony. And we understand that in order to bring that harmony about, we have to be the harmony. We are the solution. When we become a solution in our own lives and we resonate on that beautiful vibration and that frequency, we elevate. And in that elevation, we invite other people to rise with us, rising up to that beautiful fifth dimension in that harmonic music and harmonic love vibration that is out there. Like you have on your phone app, that love vibration that resonates out. All of this is extremely achievable and feasible. We have to not just listen from our minds, but listen from our souls and our hearts. And then our minds will understand what it is that is truly out there. And take away the word limited, because we are not limited. We limit ourselves in fear. We limit ourselves in hate and anger and unforgiveness. We limit ourselves. When we take away those limitations and allow that expansion, it is wondrous what we don't know and what we're ready to discover.
Beautiful.
Beautifully said. I've so enjoyed the flow of this and the laying back and pooling in this golden light. I've so enjoyed the musical explorations and all of the beautiful parts of this journey that we've taken today. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Sarah.
No, but just always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So, Robert, we got to go do the due diligence now. If everybody's got to say how everybody can find them and join our good vibrations. Christina and I are here every week with Channeling Ascensions. But so, Robert, let everybody know, because I want them to go back and listen to the other shows about the 108 Water and about the Heart app and the Heart Book. Would you let everybody know how they can find you and be a part of that as well?
Sure. Loveisthepower.com. Loveisthepower.com has the book and the app and other things there. I think everything is being channeled through that, being directed to that main website. So I think there's other websites that are connected to that, but loveisthepower.com.
And love is the power. It is.
Say, that's great. That is so
Back
to the point.
Simplicity.
We were so excited to get that website. We was like, nobody, oh my gosh, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we got it.
That,
We
seize
nabbed it.
that. Oh, that was a great way to seize that.
Yes,
Simplicity
indeed.
at its finest.
And poignant, yes. Love is the power, folks. .com. And how can they find Christina and Athella?
You can find us at athella.org, athella.org, which is spelled ATHELLA.org. And we are a philanthropic organization donating to causes in Africa, also to dolphin and whale conservation. With every single session or retreat, we're making donations for beautiful water, accessibility of water, building water wells, and all these other projects that we're seeing just coming up.
You gotta talk.
Yes, we do. And at our retreats, you know, speaking of dolphins, if you want to swim with a wild dolphin, please come to our retreats. They are the rebirth process put into this wild, unmapped, off the map, off the grid, beautiful sanctuary that we have here in the Yucatan Peninsula. And we take the kayaks out and we visit our dolphin teachers, and we have these beautiful bottlenose dolphins that we can swim and interact with safely from a distance. Yeah, but if you wanna stick around, they usually interact with us humans. And you can find all of our information on our website. You can find about what we've learned from Athella about water. We've been to Antarctica. She's provided information about some of the science of the layers of the ice on this planet, what is within the water, that we are water beings, that we can put our affirmations, tape them to our water glass, start drinking them. I mean, all these beautiful things. So find us at athella.org. There's a lot of free material there. And anyone who feels like they've resonated with this show, we also do, as Sarah pointed out, weekly shows with selfdiscoveryradio.com with Channeling Ascensions. And this is just glorious. I love today's show. I think it will really benefit so many listeners for their forgiveness, their forgiveness journey, their opening to forgiveness.
Yeah, and how awesome it is. And you can find Robert's shows here on selfdiscoveryradio.com. Just put in Robert O. Williams, and all the shows that he's done with me will be up there. Please go and listen to them. So cool. Each one of them carries a different subject. You will be mind blown with what he's achieved and what he's done in his journey. His music show as well, Stories on Brian from the Beach Boys. And of course, today's show will be up there as well. And, there are people in the world who out there are making a difference. And this is what we celebrate here on Self-Discovery Radio. And we've also done a beautiful show on dolphins. Yes. So please come and listen to that show. You've got us now on YouTube as well as here on SoundCloud and Google Play, because we aim to please. And don't forget, there's a blog written here on everybody as well. So please share. Get talking about it. This is what that consciousness is about. It's not about keeping it to yourself. It's about sharing, conversing about the consciousness that's raising our good vibrations and setting us in this beautiful fluidity flow that is us. So please do share the shows. And it's been a delight to have both back on again. And Christina and I will be back next week. We have actually the actor Cliff Simon next week, which is going to be really fun. And, there are people doing wonderful things, and I love it. We get to do the shows with them here. I'm so excited.
I have to add one more thing, Sarah, and Robert, thank you so much for reminding me. Sarah, you just reminded me when you mentioned Cliff. We are, Athella, myself, our team, we're being featured in a film that's released in August. It's called Tuning In, Angels and Aliens. It features a celebrity, although I'm not allowed to say who yet, and 5 of the top world's most prominent, prolific channelers. This film is a sequel to the first one. You can find Tuning In on Gaia TV. And this film is also, it's all about raising the global consciousness and raising it up. We're ascending now into the female. And as these changes occur, we need this material so humans can see it, we can integrate it into our bodies. And so we'll be talking more about that in future shows, but I just wanted to point that out too. That's up on the horizon.
Yes.
And we're so excited about
these
that.
shows are what we call the 5th dimensional show, because they are for the people that are already receiving and have awoken and have already stepped into that consciousness and just wanting to know how to spread their wings and celebrate those wings. Because when you're here, when you're in this vibration, when you're in this beautiful conscious presence, the art of forgiveness becomes so much easier, because we don't lay blame. And where there is no blame, there is nothing to forgive. There is something that you can speak to, but it's not a question of having to forgive, because you just let it go. You understand. And that understanding is something that really is your breath. It is that it's not so big in the scheme of things. It can be addressed, but with love. And if we do everything from that heart, we do everything from that love, in that beautiful flow and transcendence of life, then we truly actually understand what we're here for. So, and yet again, a lovely show. You're going to be back on again, Robert.
Yes.
I look forward to that.
It's always a delight to have you on. We've had such diverse shows as well, on so many different topics. That's why anybody can listen to every single one of them, and they'll find a different version of Robert, who is wonderful, beautiful, that makes him up, and that lovely layers, which is come and explore. And of course, check out Channeling Ascensions and all our past shows. We're on YouTube. You've got all of our shows there, even when they're audio, they're put up there now. And just come and see what we have there and what's still to come, because we're here to help you with your wings, right?
Yes,
The
fun
wind
and
beneath your
dancing.
Yes.
Dancing and the singing.
Yes. And life is a song.
And
Everything is music to our heart and to our souls. Right?
Really, well said. Well said. Thank you both again. And just love and light to all of you listening. Take that love and light out into the world and into your hearts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Gratitude.
Yeah. So until next time, folks. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.